How we doing, guys? This evening what I'm going to tie for you is one of my all-time favorite salmon shrimp patterns. It's called the Bann Special. It's the Bann Special with my own wee twist on it, but basically it's a Bann Special. So far they did all up in time for use as dried flies. I do a hell of a lot of salmon fishing as well, and this evening this is what I'm going to show you. This is one of my all-time favorites. As I say, it's called the Bann Special. Really great shrimp pattern for low water on spate rivers. So it is. The hook that I'm tying on this evening is a Fulham Mull 37-500 Magni double black nickel, and I'm tying in red Unifloss tying silk. It's a size 10 hook, and I've just tied down the shank of the hook there and touch and turns, and what I've tied on there is a flat red holographic tinsel tag, and there's a little fly. Trim that off. What I'm going to do now, just going to apply a dab of varnish to the tag, and that just protects the tag of the fly, and there's a little fly. There we are. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to whip finish that off. So just boom, 1, 2, 3. Whip finish that off and let it sit and dry. Wait. Sorry about that. Drop the scissors out. So I'm going to remove that, and here is one that I prepared earlier. There we are. So there you can see it's a red holographic tinsel tag, and it's varnished, and it looks quite good. So sorry, I was just checking the camera there, guys, to make sure everything is nice and clear and visible for you. So this is the hook with a varnish tag on it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the tail of the fly. Last season was my first season in the River Kelvin. When the water was low and you had plenty of fish lying in the pools, I found this fly very effective. It's a claret hen hackle. That's it there. Purchased from Cookshop, a claret hen hackle, and it's one of the large fellers from towards the back of the cape. And this is what I'm going to use for the tail of the fly. So just going to lock that in, trim away the excess, and this is what I'm going to use for the tail of the fly over the top of that red holographic tag. Now this is a fly that works great for fresh fish lying in the pool, but also resident salmon that have been lying in the pool for maybe a few weeks. Coloured up fish, because it's got the red in it, it'll work well for both fresh fish and for your coloured up fish. Now when I was younger I was hell bent on tying salmon flies heavily dressed, really heavily dressed. I always thought that the heavier dressed the fly was, the better it looked. But I'm not a teenager anymore. I'm in my 30s now, and what I've learned over the years is that whenever you're fishing for salmon in low water, sometimes, in fact, it's not sometimes, in my opinion, the sparser the fly, the better. Especially when you're fishing in low water. Definitely. Fishing in big water, whenever the river's in spate, definitely, the bigger the fly and the more overdressed it is, it can be the better sometimes. But when you're fishing in low water, fishing for salmon, sitting in pools, and they may have been sitting there for days, sometimes weeks. What you're trying to do with a salmon is you're trying to trigger an aggressive reaction. And if the fly is too heavily dressed, then what can happen is you end up spooking the fish. It's that simple. So what I've done there with the tail, 3 turns of that large claret hen hackle off the back of the cape. 3 turns and that's your tail. That's it done. That's it done. You still want a nice flare in the tail, because you need to remember it's a shrunk pattern you're tying. You're trying to imitate what the salmon are feeding on at sea. So you want a nice flare in your tail, you want a nice flare in your middle hackle, and you want a nice flare in your head hackle. But as I progress in the tying of the fly, you'll see all that. What I'm going to do here now is tie in a copper wire rub. By the way, this fly can be tied with gold wire rub, can be tied with a silver wire rub. It doesn't really matter. It's entirely down to your own preference. I like the copper because it gives off a nice gleam and a nice shine in the water. Now, the first half of the body of this fly is done in yellow. What I'm using here is yellow globrite floss. So I'm just going to lock that in, pull it where I want it to be, and then tie it in and secure it. Right back as far as the tail of the fly. As I say, this is yellow globrite floss. So you're only coming halfway up the fly with this. Alright. And as I say, I fished this last season in the River Kelvin. I had great success on it. I would say I had maybe between say 5, maybe 6 salmon on it whenever the water was low. What I like to do, I just like to bulk up the body a wee bit with that floss. That's the first half of the fly. Tie that off, lock it in, secure it, boom. Your excess, trim there, and trim there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind down with my copper rub, and as I say, it doesn't need to be copper. You'll probably find the traditional tying a band special is done with a silver rub. I just like the copper. I think the copper gives the fly just that extra bit of shine, that extra bit of glint in the water. 3 turns is more than enough. Lock that in and trim away your excess. So there you can see that lovely vibrant claret tail and that lovely fluorescent yellow body. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the body hackle to this fly. And once again, what I'm using is an orange cock hackle. That's the cape that is coming off there. As you can see, Cooksall again. The reason that I'm showing you Cooksall is because I'm trying to show you that you don't need expensive materials to be able to tie effective salmon flies. There's a lot of fly tiers out there and they tie phenomenal looking salmon flies. Really beautiful. Really effective. But as I say, I fished this last season in the River Kelvin and in low water conditions. I had great success on it, and this is tied by, oh, that slipped there. Let's try that again. And as I say, this is tied by bog standard materials. You don't need to be busting the bank or anything for these capes. You can purchase these capes from Stephen Cooksall for $6.50 a cape. You're not bursting the bank at all with these capes, so you're not. As I said these before, when I was younger, I used to be terrible for overdressing my salmon fleece. Terrible for it, because I thought, just solely for the purpose that I thought that it looked so good. But as you progress in your fishing career, you learn things. So you do. You pick things up from all anglers. The man that showed me how to tie my first salmon fly is a fella from Derry called Sean McLaughlin. He's one of my father's good friends, also known as the wee general. Simply because sometimes you could hear him before you could see him. The man is now an ambassador for Loop, so he is. And that's the guy that taught me how to tie my first salmon fly, Sean McLaughlin. Sean, if you're watching, or if you happen to see this video, pal, I'm forever in your debt. The saw spiral from you, me tying these type of flies. What I'm doing there is I'm just pushing the hackle fibres back, tying them in, just to give the middle hackle that nice flare. Now, that looks good to me, and you've got that nice bright fluorescent yellow body with a copper wire. So already you've got the makings of a great salmon fly: attraction, colour and vibrance. Everything to trigger a salmon's natural aggression. Now, the front half of the fly is black. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply black seals for, dub it on dead tight, so just so as it maybe nearly looks like a floss. What do I see? Beeswax. You are better using a floss for the front half of the body. There's no doubt about it. You're better using, if you have it, you're better using black floss. I haven't got any left, and purely just for the simplicity of not having to change tying silks, I'm just going to dub on some black seals for it, and I'll dub it on nice and tight, just so as it gives the impression of silk instead of seals for it. Once again, I'm going to lock on my copper wire rib, and I'm going to lock it on while I'm applying my seals for, so that once again you're not generating too much bulk on the body of the fly. And there we go. That looks good to me. And again, the front half of the body, you'll get away with 2 turns of the rib, 1 and 2 turns of your copper wire. Lock that in. An extra turn just to secure it, and trim away your excess. So there you are. We have that vibrant claret in the back, and underneath the claret you've got the red holographic, the fluorescent yellow globrite floss, and your black silver with a copper. And the head hackle, the final head hackle that I'm going to apply to this fly is a badger cock hackle. Once again, this is the cape here. So it is badger badger cock cape, sorry, purchased from Cooksall. You can see that the markings on that is absolutely beautiful. Steve, you know I'm a big fan of your work, pal. But again, £6.50 guys for that cape. £6.50. And the point that I'm making here is that you don't need to spend a fortune of money in order to tie effective salmon fleece. You really don't. Just lock that in, trim away the excess, and again, as I say, all you need is 2 or 3 turns. So there's 1 and 2, and I'm going to leave that at that. That's it. Going back maybe, I don't know, maybe say 10-12 years, I would have said that's nowhere near heavy enough. But see now, I'm looking at that, I'm already thinking that might already be too heavy. So when you're fishing for salmon in low water, especially in spate rivers, sometimes, in fact not sometimes, in my experience, the sparser the fly, the better. It took me a long time to get used to it. It really did, because I just had it in my head that the heavier you dress the fly, the better it looks. And the better the fly might look, but just because it looks better to you doesn't mean it looks better to a salmon. Now, there you go. And that on its own, as it is right now, is a fly that will catch you a lot of salmon in spate rivers in low water. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add jungle cock. I used to love fly. In my younger years, I never ever really thought that jungle cock was an essential, because you look at all your classic patterns, the big salmon catching patterns, such as your Alex shrimp and your stoat's tail, patterns that have been renowned for catching salmon for a lot of years. None of them have jungle cock in them. But as I progressed in my tying career and my fishing career, well, it's just one of them things. But jungle cock just gives your fly that extra edge. So it does, gives it, it stands out better in the water. It'll catch the salmon's eye better. By all means, definitely, it's not an essential. It's definitely not essential, but it's entirely down to what you have confidence in fishing with yourself. So I've applied one cheek on one side, and now I'm going to apply the other, and just lock that in again, just with 1, 2, 3 turns. There we are, and that looks good to me. You have the orange and the claret in the tail, with the red holographic tinsel underneath it, the fluorescent yellow, the black, the badger and the orange, and the jungle cock cheeks. And one last wee element of the fly that I'm going to add, which probably not a lot of people do, but I like to do it because I just think it gives the fly that extra vim factor. And this is a technique that I've just learned from watching YouTube videos. Ryan Houston is very good at it. I'm going to apply a flat red holographic tinsel until the head of this fly. So wind right back, take your hackle flare and your jungle cock eyes, come right forward again. If there's any excess in there, just trim it off, and then just wind the red holographic tinsel around the head. That just gives, look at that, look at the shine in the head of that fly. Oh, we're going to make another shade here at the very end. There. One wrap. There we go, I've salvaged it. Let's see if I can. Right, so just lock that on with 1 turn of tying silk. Just 1 turn. Take your whip finish and whip finish it straight away. Only 3 turns of the whip finish, so that's 1, 2, 3. There you go. And that still manages to capture that red flare in the head of the fly. And then you just trim away that tinsel. Nope, your tying silk. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to apply a generous dab of varnish to the fly. what that does is that protects the red holographic tinsel and gives the fly that lovely shiny red shine in the head of the fly. And there we have it, guys. That's my take on a low water bann special shrimp fly. And as you can see yourself, the colours in that are beautiful. You have the orange, fluorescent yellow, that deep vibrant claret in the tail, red holographic tag, red holographic head, and then the finishing touch is the jungle cock eyes. And as I say, in the River Kelvin last season, whenever the water was low, I had fairly good success in that fly. And as I say, that's one of my all-time favourite low water shrimp patterns for spate rivers. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Hit the thumbs up, leave a comment on the video, let me know what you think. If you can, subscribe to the channel, and it's my promise to make sure that the patterns and the action keep coming. Till next time, guys, tight lines, and thanks for watching.